I was first taught it. You like Starbucks? Make it stronger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Favorite thing?
How are you? Hello.
Welcome. Thank you. No, I can't get it. How you are?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first Halton Police Board meeting of 2024. My name is Graham Milne. I'm the board secretary, and the first order of business in every new year is the election of a chair and vice chair. I'd like to open things off by taking nominations from the board for chair of the board for this year. Ms. Hannah.
Yes, I would like to nominate Jeff Knoll as chair of the Halton Police Board.
Thank you, Jeff. Do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Is there a seconder for the nomination?
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. Jeff has been nominated. Are there any other nominees for the position of chair? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Knoll's been nominated. All those in favor? And that carries. Congratulations, Chair Knoll, if you'd like to take the center seat, and congratulations, Vice Chair.
I didn't even get the chair before. Will the next federal election be a bomb?
Yes, you should applaud. Well, again, the next matter of business in that regard is the nomination and election of the vice chair for the upcoming year. All right, is there nominations, Clark? Do you have a nomination?
I would nominate board member Hand.
Okay, thank you. Do you accept that nomination? Is there a seconder to the nomination? Thank you, Jane. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Are there further nominations? Not seeing any. All in favor? That's carried. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So before we delve into the agenda, I do have some remarks as your past and incoming chair. So to begin with, I want to thank the board for electing me as the chair of the Halton Police Board. I'm filled with a profound sense of responsibility and gratitude for your continued trust in my leadership. This role is not just a position of honor that I enjoy and cherish, but it's also my commitment to serve our community diligently in our ongoing public safety mission. To each member and each person in this room, our board members, the committed sworn and civilian team of the Halton Police Service, and our devoted board staff, I look forward to another year of collaborative and impactful work. The year ahead promises to be both busy and challenging, yet it is these challenges that drive us to excel and make meaningful contributions to our mutual cause. A central part of our board agenda this year is going to be the finalization of our strategic plan. This plan is not just a document, it is an essential guide that outlines our commitment to providing adequate and effective police services to the residents of Halton. This year, we are introducing a brand new performance-based metrics process, a step that underscores our commitment to the transparency and accountability of the service and board. These metrics will not only measure our successes, but they will also ensure that we remain focused on the needs and safety of our community, as well as the safety and well-being of our employees. Also, we'll soon be embarking on negotiations for a new collective agreement with the Halton Police Association. We must approach the task with a renewed spirit of collaboration and mutual respect going forward. The upcoming implementation of the new Community Safety and Policing Act is a fundamental and long overdue change in our governing legislation, and that becomes effective April 1st of this year. This too demands our careful consideration and steps towards compliance with the new provisions that, amongst other things, will clarify our new responsibilities to the board's role. Now, as I announced at the December board meeting early on, I am firmly dedicated to enhancing the transparency of our board business in 2024. More of our discussions will be held in open session, providing the public with greater insight into our decision-making process. This is a key part of building a deeper connection and trust with the community that we serve. I'm very happy to extend my congratulations to Ingrid Hahn on her re-election as vice chair. I was very sure it was going to happen. It's actually written on my note. Your expertise and dedication are invaluable to us. I appreciate your support and counsel and always being on standby at chair meetings or attend events in my absence. I also want to warmly welcome Jessica Warren, officially in her new role as Executive Assistant and Communications Advisor to the Chair. While I introduced her in December, she is now officially on the job and already doing some great things. Jessica, your contributions will be key in enhancing our public communications and supporting the chair and board in our responsibilities. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to working with you. Now, in conclusion, I want to thank each of you for your ongoing support and trust. Working together, we will continue to uphold our commitment to safety, justice, and service for the residents of Halton. Thanks so much again for your trust, and let's move on with the meeting. Transition here, give me 1 second. Things that I can sign on this time. The board portal stopped in the middle of our pre-meeting, so I'm hoping I'm going to go back on. 1 second. Mr. Secretary, do we have a paper? Oh, I can cheat off of vice chairs. Okay, so we have dealt with the election. I'm sorry. Regrets. Members of the board, any regrets? Sorry, Mr. Secretary, any regrets today?
No regrets, Mr. Chair. Councillor Kearns has indicated she'll be joining us a little later.
That's correct. She has accepted at the city, and she will join us in the process. Any disclosures of pecuniary or conflict of interest to declare today? I don't see any. Members of the board, I want to draw your attention to our minutes, which were circulated for the meeting on December 14th, 2023. This is our public portion minutes. Members of the board, what is your pleasure to dispense with the minutes? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Ingrid. Seconded by Jane. Thank you. Are there any comments, questions, errors, or omissions to report? Not seeing any. Nobody in Zoom land. Okay, all in favor? Those minutes are carried. Okay. We have no presentations in the public session. We have a number of information reports, 3.1 to 3.4. Those are specifically strategic plan 2024 to 2027. I'm going to turn to our CGO to lead us off on this. Thanks, Joe.
Morning, everyone. Happy New Year. So this is the working draft of the strategic plan as prepared by staff for the board's review and feedback. It contains the results of the board's workshop, where the board reviews all the community input, as well as trend analysis from the service, and identified outcome-based objectives for the next 4 years. It also includes the management's action plans for each of those items, and also some preliminary comments on evaluating performance. The last two sections, other strategically important business, and a summary of how the plan does reflect needs, values, and expectations, will be drafted after receiving the feedback on this. That's my info, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. CGO. Are there comments from the board before I... Okay, so at this point in time, I want to remind everybody that this is clearly a draft of our document at this point, and at this time, we are open for feedback. I know the chief has indicated that he has one, if not two, comments, or three. Do I hear four? Do I hear four? Going once? So I will turn the floor to the chief to bring his comments forward.
Thank you, through the chair. My first comment is Fred and others. Thank you for putting this together. I know it's a lot of work, and the deputies and our commanders and a lot of different people that were involved on the action plan end of this. And Roger, Deputy Chief Wilkie, and Tammy Sandy put probably 100 or more hours into some of those action plans. So thank you for doing all those things. My first comment is just really a general one, and it's just for board discussion, and it's on I think it's page 9 of 20, where it's crime and occurrence trends. We have a lot of trends in the region and across Ontario that are happening right now. Certainly firearms are a concern, and they're on the rise. Just in the whole scheme of things, intimate partner violence, auto theft, and mental health, might be more important for the community to see the graphs of those as opposed to the graph that about no fixed address. We are starting to see homeless people, certainly, increasingly, perhaps more in Burlington, connected with certain facilities in that city. But I'm not sure that the board would want to highlight that one as opposed to intimate partner violence, mental health, and auto theft, which are so high on our radar. So that's just a general comment for the board's consideration as we go from draft to final version.
You provide a public auto theft graph?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, we could do that for auto theft, ITVU over the years, and because there are so many, unfortunately, intimate partner violence occurrences. And I don't think, as much as we talk about, the prevalence of mental health in society and in Halton over the past couple of years, I think it would sort of shine a different light on it if people actually saw the number of occurrences that our frontline officers are dealing with and our mobile crisis rapid response team. So we'll pick all three of those, and then the board can have further discussion about prioritizing them for inclusion. My second comment is on, I believe it's page 11. So it's in relation to strategic objective number 1. And we have had some discussion about this before. And my only concern is in and around the specificity of 47.7%. I think it's an arbitrary number. It is a number that was, in fact, reality a couple of years ago. But I also think in some ways it may be unattainable. We can certainly strive for it, but we are certainly always going to want the first part of that strategic objective, which is being achievement of the highest weighted clearance rate among comparator police services or comparable police services. I would prefer the 47.7 not be there, and then the service achieve as high a goal as we can. Over these past 2 years, just as one example of that, we've been looking at why our clearance rates have been going down across the region. So I had our analytical team do some work on that this past week. It is 100% attributable to one crime type, and that's auto theft. So if we take the number of auto thefts out of our statistics, as well as the low number of clearance rates for auto theft, our clearance rates actually went up in 2022 and in 2023. But with auto theft it looks like less work is being done, which I don't think is fair to all of the work that's being done by our frontline members. In fact, we know that in 2022, our frontline officers, investigators solved around 1,000 more occurrences than in 2021, but the statistic of percent clearance rate went down. So I'm glad that our analytical team were able to pull that out and shine the light on the impact of auto theft. So that would be my request for strategic objective number 1 is that the 47.7 be removed and that comparable police services.
Before we move off that, do you mind, can I suggest that the solution to that may be simply, if you look at that objective on that's in green, it reads achievement of the highest weighted clearance rate amongst compared to, I don't think the scene is in the strategic plan. Achievement of the highest weighted clearance rate amongst comparative police services sustained at 47.7% or better. Would it be more acceptable to you and your team if we were to just basically put a period after services and remove it sustained at 47.7 or better? That still achieves the goal that we are attempting to accomplish, but as you requested, doesn't include that actual number. Would that satisfy you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Number 3?
The third one is just a small point in relation to strategic objective 3, which is improved HRPS member job satisfaction and engagement. Below that, we talk about wellness, but I feel very strongly, as do the deputies, that wellness of our members is as important or more important than job satisfaction and engagement. In fact, they all go together. But I think it would be beneficial for our members if that read improved HRPS member wellness, job satisfaction and engagement. I just want to really highlight the wellness part. We are doing resiliency training. We do talk to all of our new recruits and all of our new members about mental health related issues and our organizational wellness and all the successes that they've had. So I would just ask for that change, which is wellness be added. Yep, that's good.
Kurt, you have a question?
Well, I did, but I wanted to let the chief finish, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
You finished. I often force slot.
Okay, well, I do have a question then. When I look at the work that's been done on the strategic plan, if I'm understanding the writing properly, there's about 23% of our community who responded to the survey and indicated that they didn't feel the service was providing equitable service. And I'm just wondering if I could get a comment from the service in terms of how that will be addressed in an action plan. I know, for example, the service is making tremendous inroads in terms of reaching out and building relationships with various communities. But will that be reflected in an action plan mode?
I'm not sure which action point that is already in that might fit into, but it's certainly, Mr. Allen, it's a complicated question because I believe that a lot of that deals with perception. And some of that perception comes from the media. So members of the public, no matter what segment of our community they're from or what diverse group they may be from or LGBTQ community and otherwise, they are seeing things in the media, which I would suggest are not Halton-centric, not Halton-related occurrences, but, you know, brought to you courtesy of the greater Toronto area or Toronto or south of the border and all those sorts of different things. So I think a part of the answer to decrease the 23 negative side is communication and engagement with the community. That's difficult to do. We do a lot of work in the EDI space and with our partners. We hope that will fan out even more. We do social media, but if people are not on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever the platform may be, they don't get the message. So I think we're going to have to come up with some different ways to engage people, but there is always going to be a certain degree of negativity when it comes to policing. I actually draw the board's attention to something that came out from the Toronto Star earlier this week, sort of a program that if you want to subscribe, we will send you every negative occurrences about the police service. I've actually been in touch with the owner and publisher of the Toronto Star in relation to that. I believe he was not aware of that, and they'll be looking into it, but I'm suggesting they also have to highlight all the great work that's being done. And as you know, from your history, it's not like our media to focus on the good news stories, the lives saved or the armed, dangerous people arrested. They want that one time when a police officer makes a bad decision or is actually a bad officer. So we will be working on that. I'll have to have a look at the actual action plan bullet points, and we could discuss if there's one specific that we can add.
Thank you. No, I'm fine.
Clark?
I guess on this point is, how is that something you would measure when you're doing a survey? Because surveys are random when we're going out, and you're not necessarily going to get the same pool of people that you talked to before to see if there's been any change in perception as to what the service may or may not be doing. And it could be a difficult one to ever try to properly track because you're always looking at a new pool of individuals that are going to be responding. And like surveys like this, when they happen, it's whatever, it's that snapshot in time. You always have to look at that as it's just this one day, and whatever is having a bearing on those people is how they're going to react. So it would be a difficult one to try to get a number around is my point.
I guess the only opportunity really will be when we do our next public opinion survey, which of course we can't do on a regular basis, but certainly on a periodic basis. Chief, you had a comment?
Well, Deputy Wilkie we were just looking at the specific points, and there are quite a few that do address that from a communication perspective, reaching out to our diverse communities and a variety of things. So it perhaps is covered in there, and we fit all our individual activities into that.
Members of the board, further comments? I just wanted to comment on that as well, because that communications piece and that number really stood out to me when I was reviewing the public opinion work. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. A lot of it is perceptions in this media. Unfortunately, our media pool at Halton is shrinking, and our ability to be able to rely on others to tell our stories is almost non-existent now. So most of the perceptions that the public have of anything come from Toronto media. And, you know, so I think you're bang on in these perceptions. My opinion is it's based on perceptions, and realities of some of the things that occur in our largest city, which, you know, is only 20 minutes away down the highway. So, I know that the board is committed to, we hired a communications, advisor to help us, you know, hone our message, and I know that the service has strengthened the communication department too, so we're just going to have to find every possible way we can to tell our own stories and let people know, you know, what to do and how we're dealing with the issues of the day. So it's certainly no one's work, but it's something that the public have identified as being a deficit in the service, and if that's the biggest concern, I'll take it. But we certainly do have to work on it. What you said. Any more feedback? Deputy, do you have anything to suggest today?
No, I just want to thank our broader senior leadership team for putting the time and effort into understanding how this shift in strat planning, it's different than what we're used to, and now kind of reconcepting what their work looks like within those 5 priorities was an important exercise for us. And I think that you'll see that the action plans do touch on all the stakeholder engagement, the community concerns, and what their expectations are. And I think that we've got a fairly robust action plan that we'll be able to deliver.
Thank you. Fred?
There's excellent work in those action plans, for sure. Much appreciated. I want to mention, before you go off this, then we'll need a motion to change goal number 1. Okay, we'll check number 1. Okay.
Oh, that's because that was as a result of a motion from the board, so we have to change that in November. Okay.
Adding wellness to.
But I think those are more drafting issues rather than approval issues, and we can capture those if that's the desire. Whoever wants to make the motion now.
Well, I just thought maybe it was required, but it's not.
I think the reason that we're specifically mentioning a motion around the numbers because that was specifically in our direction to the service. So we have to reverse that, and that's important. There's no problem putting the other points in a motion, but I think that Fred can take those as direction, correct? Perfect. Okay. Chief, you had something further?
I just wanted to take you up on topic number 4.
I knew it. I can count on it coming back. I knew it.
No, it's just a positive comment. I just want to thank the board and for including strategic objective number 5. We had a lot of discussion about policing, and policing has changed. Our police officers deal with a lot of extremely serious situations, even though we're in the safest large municipality. We have all these very serious things from intimate partner violence, hate crime, human trafficking, child exploitation, guns and gangs, firearms, and road safety. But to have that actually highlighted in the strategic plan is very important. I've always felt from all police services to have the good old real-time police work included in a strategic plan too. There's a lot of community involvement and engagement, and all of those other things are extremely important, satisfaction, member wellness. But to get down to the nuts and bolts of some of the really serious crimes that our officers will be tackling, I am thankful that that is in there the way it is, and that it will highlight the work that they do over the next 3 years.
Thanks, Chief.
Back to the board. Questions, comments, Clark?
I guess the one would be, and it's a very simple one, strategic objective number 2, it lists a couple acronyms in there without explaining what the acronyms mean.
Oh, it's
Well, we do it because we all speak in acronyms.
Yeah.
Also, I would make the motion at the appropriate time for the wording change.
Oh, great, okay.
As what was suggested.
Okay, I'll come back to you in just a moment. Thanks for, giving me that motion. Okay, can we, I guess that's another good point, we should expand on acronyms.
Specifically in the action plans under strategic objective number 2. Clark?
Yes, well, there, it says, it talks about different groups, and it says one called YIPI and
Yeah.
ESINC.
We should probably just avoid generally, acronyms, or add the acronym and the definition beside it so we can help educate people.
Yeah, thank you.
Good call. Anything further? Okay, so let's get the motion on the table. So I think the motion would be to receive the draft and to edit, prioritize strategic objective number 1 to delete words sustained at 47.7% or better. Motion, and I guess let's do it kind of to incorporate other comments and feedback provided at the board meeting. Graham, is that captured? Is that what you meant, Clark?
That was exactly what I meant. I couldn't have said it better.
The motion's been moved and seconded, it's on the floor. Are there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, stay tuned to next month's meeting for part 2.
Just sort of next steps. Talk about next steps. Sure, where we go.
Yeah.
It's not part of the motion. So the next steps, there's a few missing pieces. Chief's letter, other matters of strategic importance, and piece explaining how the plan reflects community needs, values, and expectations. There's 2 areas of the strategically important business that need to be covered by the new legislation. One's technology and the other is facilities. They don't have to be particularly lengthy necessarily, but they do need to be touched on. Both of which there's obviously been a lot of work on recently. And then I just say, I think if we do this fairly quickly, we should be able to get provided that the other pieces all line up with the plan, then we should be able to get pictures added, and some of your communications people who work with Jessica to finalize a copy for publication for the next board meeting. Well, we're so close now. We are close.
Yeah, no, and then certainly with those slight changes and comments today, I will have my comments done by next week. And the facilities and technology section, some of that will aptly mirror with what we've had in prior strategic plans, and then some will be specific. For example, on technology, and Bill and Adam will be involved specifically, like comment about cybersecurity and different things as a priority, and facilities, and the ongoing now building of the one district facility, and long-term what we're going to have to do in the north end, because eventually I think that will go back to being 2 facilities, so we should put that on the map now. So we will, we should be able to have that done, I think, by the end of next week, if not by the end of today.
Thank you.
Okay, did I take the vote on that? I forgot. I was taking every word that Fred said. I wasn't sure if I took the vote. Okay, so that's been approved. I also want to make a last comment on this. I want to thank everybody. I know this is Thanksgiving. I want to thank everybody for getting us this far on this first ever board-driven strategic plan process. And a big thank you to the service, obviously, for working with Fred and the board side to get this done. And a massive thank you to our Chief Navigator, just changed your title, Chief Navigating Officer, for getting us through this process to date, and to express how much I'm looking forward to having this completed and implemented. So thank you, everybody, for your hard work and cooperation. Okay, moving on, 3.2, in-force date of Community Safety and Policing Act 2019. There is no specific report, but it is an important item, as I mentioned in my opening comments. I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but I know that Dave Tilley is in the room, and I would wonder if, Dave, you sent us an excellent summary letter, which I found incredibly useful, and I've referred to it several times. Would you mind giving us just a couple words of an overview of what this is all about for the public that are watching potentially?
Sure. So just before the holiday period, the ministry sent out an all-chiefs memo to let everyone know that the Community Safety and Policing Act will be in force as of April 1st. So the Act, as well as the 26 regulations that are currently posted, which are required to bring the Act basically to life or in force, are now there. The expectation from the ministry now really is that chiefs, services, boards, associations are working together now to ensure that you're in a position to be compliant come April 1st. As your advisor, I'm obviously available to help and provide information as required, and that's kind of where we are at the moment with it.
And sort of putting you on the spot, you give me a heads up. That's on you. I'm used to it.
I know this is probably unfolding, but the burning question amongst the board staff across the province is how quickly does the province expect the boards and services to be compliant with the new Act and regulation? And are there priorities in that?
So I don't really have a response to that, other than I don't think there's any expectation of perfection come April 2nd. But I mean, there should be a plan to reach compliance as soon as possible.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, Chair.
Bart? Well, now that we're away from the broader ones, how are we going to be here at home? Are we going to be compliant and ready to go on April 1st?
No.
On the board, David Tilley just fell into the chair. I'm just joking.
No, but it's an honest thing that we need to know.
Yeah, no, there's too many changes on things, some of which are not legal under the existing legislation. So in order to move to the new legislation, and of course, changing the policy might be one thing, but then actually implementing it will take more time. Yeah.
Any feedback from the chief on that?
Well, first, I'm disappointed that the province didn't take my advice and stay away from April 1st, but I don't know why they would do that. But we do know that it's going to be a lot of work internally. We are concerned, I am concerned about compliance and when we need to be compliant, and also our really in-depth, fulsome knowledge of all of the impacts of what's in there. Timelines, changes to our disciplinary process, changes to what we're going to make to all of our policies across the service, or there's so many of them that may be impacted. Some might just be wording changes, some might be more important. So there's going to be a lot of work done there, and we're already having a look at how we are probably best going to be able to do that. So stay tuned. We will be in as good a position as we can be on April 1st.
Ingrid, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question regarding number 3, mandatory training for board members. And I'm wondering, Mr. Tilley, if you can give us a little bit of an indication of what it is that we as board members will be required to complete, and by when, certainly not by April 1.
So there's a number of regulated areas under, I believe it's Section 35. The most important one for you to April 1st is the roles and responsibilities training, which will be an online course delivered from the ministry that's currently being developed in consultation with the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards. Now, the requirement is that you will need to complete that online training prior to being able to discharge your duties as a board member after April 1st. The expectation at the moment is that it will be available sometimes towards the end of February, but it will be online delivery.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Wilson.
Through the chair, at a provincial level, the OAPSB, OACP, and police associations are running a summit in February to have conversations. There's still some things that have not been settled. We've met directly with the Inspector General in terms of the compliance pieces. We've been given assurances that the compliance pieces, well, there's a bit of a runway because they understand the impact on services and boards to get policy to support some of these things in place. So we're confident service-wide that we will be positioned very well because we've been mindful of what's coming down the pipe for some time. But I think we'll have some more information late February as to what those compliance pieces look like, and I think we'll be pleased with the fact that it's not going to be a drop-dead date.
Yeah, I think there's a few members of the board who are attending that session as well, so it should be an interesting day. I understand it's sold out. I'm wondering, Mr. CJO, should we have a placeholder for this on each agenda going forward, just for an update on where we stand on this particular issue? Just so it's always top of mind to provide any updates, or even if it's nothing. Would that be useful, do you think? Yes. So, Mr. Secretary, will you make note of that?
I encourage the board to make a motion to that effect.
Okay. So can I get a motion that we add a placeholder item on our public agenda and confidential where required on updates for the new legislation? I saw Nav and Jane. Further comments or questions? All in favor? That's carried. Can I get a motion to receive the report, please? Clark and Ingrid. Further comments or questions on the act? Anything further we want to grill Mr. Tilley on before we move to vote? Now.
I just had a question for Mr. Tilley. Is the course going to be self-learned, like self-directed, or is it going to be like a seminar based?
It will be self-directed.
Okay.
Motion to make and receive. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 3.3, quarterly human resources summary. Anybody have any questions on this? Okay, Ingrid, go ahead.
I just have a quick question, and I think it's great news. When I look at the report, I see that we've added a sergeant in the fourth quarter. And what I always enjoy looking at is at the very end with the name and the details of the promotion. But unfortunately, that area is blank. And so I'm just asking the chief, good that you've appointed a sergeant. Would the board be permitted to know who that might be?
You would if I knew. It might be a numbering.
It's the return of a sergeant. There was no promotion.
It's the return.
Yes.
From
being off.
From being off.
Yes. So they were replaced by an acting,
okay.
which makes a vacancy. They've come back.
So it's not a new
It's not
sergeant that we've appointed.
No.
And I'm glad I didn't miss that.
All right.
You could have sworn your name out there, we would have believed you.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Anything further on this report? Ingrid?
Yes, and I'm just going back to our last board meeting where we talked about turnover. And what we talked about was, we had 24 resignations in 2023. What we talked about at the last board meeting was, is it possible to get the length of service, the tenure of the people who have left?
Would be up to me, yeah. We will.
24 looks high for the year. And it's just out of interest to see, are these people who have joined the service recently? Are these people who have been here long term? Because it certainly is an indicator when you look at the tenure.
Yes, and it just, in general, it is a mix of sworn and civilian. And on the uniform side, sometimes people make a totally different career choice.
Sure.
We do have a bit of a phenomena right now. I would call it a cost of living impact, where we have some officers moving around the province or from a municipal service to the OPP because they can live in, I always say North Bay. I don't know what the cost of the house really is in North Bay, but it's probably a third of the cost of the house in Oakville. So it is a economic decision in some cases. We have had some civilian members, because I read their letters when they are notifying us of their termination, that are moving closer to home for employment, that are moving to a different type of career. So, but we will certainly be able to provide a breakdown of the years of service.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, are there further questions or comments on this report? Ingrid, do you mind giving me a motion to receive the report, please? Thank you. It's been moved, seconded by. Thank you, Jean. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, before I move to 3.4, I was remiss in not acknowledging the attendance of a member of our regional council who has joined to monitor our activities and see where our budget increase went. Just kidding. Councillor Samira Ali from the wonderful city of Mississauga, Milton. That word, maybe Malton, I don't know. Samira is from Milton. There she is waving in the back. Welcome to our meeting. Samira, thanks for dropping in and joining us. We always encourage our council colleagues as well as the other interested parties to join us for a public session. Okay, item 3.4 is semi-annual complaint statistics report. Any questions or comments on this? Seeing any, can I get a motion to receive the report, please? Oh, you do. Last question.
Yes, I do have a question, and that was regarding the case of Mr. Tatur, who had two civil lawsuits underway.
I think that's a later, that's a separate,
Yes, you're right.
Rewind the tape.
Yeah, apologies.
Can I get a motion to receive this report, please? I think I got one. Did I earlier? Or? Motion to receive the report. Thank you, Nav. Thank you, Jane. All in favor? That's received. Okay, we are moving. I'm sorry, Chief.
No, sorry. I think I just need to make my annual comment.
Okay.
I'm very pleased with this report annually. Certainly, we would like to have zero complaints, but we are always going to have people complain when they have been dealt with in police-related incidents or environments. I think the totality of the complaints and the fact that many are unsubstantiated, they still require time for investigation, and a lot of our, certainly professional standards branch, Inspector Manella and others who deal with all those things. But I think in the totality, it speaks very, very much to the professionalism of our frontline officers. You know, I've watched some video podcasts that some of our frontline officers have done, and the attitude and the personalities that they portray, I think, really speak highly of the quality of the service. So every time I see this report, I'm never shocked by the numbers. I think they're relatively low, and I'm pleased with that and proud of the members on the front line.
Thank you for taking a moment to express that. That's great. We've addressed this matter now. We move on to recommendation reports. We have one recommendation report today. It's a doozy. It's the acquisition of a human resources information system. Who would like to give us an overview of this project? Sorry. Go.
I would. I will turn that over to Deputy Chief Hill and Tracy, but no, in seriousness, this has been going on for some time. It is a large capital project investment. It's a system which is going to provide a very much higher level of information for the service, also of different capabilities for our members to be able to access different parts of that system, right down to in time, taking time off, and looking at staffing levels, a number of different things. So it is very, very important system, which we are finally at the stage to bring it forth. It's going to be another year. By the end of the year, it will be fully operational, but Tracy will probably have a different date. It's a major project, and thanks to all the staff on the human resource side, on the finance side, and the legal side who have been working towards this point, so I'm glad we're here.
Thanks, Chief. Anything further? Does Deputy Hill wish to comment on this?
The chief did an awesome job with that. No, it is Chair, it is a big deal for us. It's something that we've needed here for quite some time. As you can read in the report, it does automate a lot of our HR core processes that we need. It's going to replace an aging technological piece of technology that we have that should have been gone a long time ago, to be honest. I just wanted to acknowledge that this came really through a lot of our subject matter experts who are all kind of here, waiting to see if you're going to ask them a question. Obviously, Tracy, Bill, Paul, and Ken as well. Momina as so they're basically
Momina and Inspector Foley.
Right. So it was they put a ton of work into this and doing the RP process and getting all the the resources that we needed. They've done an amazing job, and we're excited. Now, obviously, to Chief's point and to Tracy's head shaking, there's a lot of work that now has to happen in regards to implementation. It is going to be very labor intensive, so we'll be sure to give updates along the way. And if you have technological questions, I'm not smart enough, and that's why we have all that.
I know where to go. We do have, your team will not be disappointed. We have at least one board member that wants to ask a question. Sir, you have the floor, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My question is simple. Does this mean that HR, once installed, HR, finance and compensation will be on the same system? And will it be the same system as used by the region, as an example?
I'll say shortly, yes, but I'll let Bill get into the technicalities of the system.
Okay, the analog answer is yes, and we'll give the digital answer.
Through the chair, the RFP committee was focused on about 8 different areas of assessing the technology to be used. And as it's implemented, we will have independence from the region, but an interface with them as well, so that we can pass payroll processing to the region. However, we will be managing the finances of payroll internally, which is a nice automation exercise for us because of how we had to do it before. So it's going to bring a huge advantage there as well around core HR, time and attendance, benefits management, and a number of other really critical business process areas.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you, Kurt. Ingrid, you're up next.
Yeah. We've certainly followed this process very closely over the last year, and we can appreciate the major work that has to go into selecting the ideal HRIS, and I think the fact that you got some good advice from PwC and that they're going to help along the way with the implementation will certainly be beneficial. I know you're going to kick it off in February 5th, and you're looking at it going live a year from now, January 2025. And we all know from past experience, there are always some surprises. There are always some impediments, if you will. And so PwC becomes the implementation advisor, correct? They will guide you as you put the SAP in place. So there's 2 teams, right? There's an SAP team and there's a PwC team.
We're also looking at, it's going to be more than one team, quite frankly. We're looking at it, we have an internal project team as well that Tracy has built on that is going to be dedicated solely to the purposes of implementation. There's further conversations going on with Bill and Bill's team about the potential of future human resource that we may need for the specific to SAP technology, so that we can make sure. Bill and his team are obviously geniuses when it comes to IT, but as you suggest, each specific software technology has its own little peculiarities to it, so that is one thing to make sure that we don't get tripped up along the way of hiring a person, a consultant, effectively, to help us specifically implement this.
Is there another service or another municipal organization that has implemented this SAP platform? There is.
Yes.
So I would assume that some strong consultation took place. And how long have they been live?
They are not live.
They're not live yet.
Previous versions at regions. Other police services, their structure is slightly different as well, but we're in consultation, and Bill and Paul as well, with their counterparts, either in municipality or IT, and we're going to lean on them as well, going forward, some of the maybe barriers and challenges that they've encountered, so we can stay ahead of it. So we've already made some of those contacts confidentially, just to ask them how their process is going. And Bill?
If I may, through the chair, before we undertook this process, we did consult with a number of other police services and regions who were looking, and we actually took kind of the best of what they had done in the process of selecting. Some are not there yet. We've managed to kind of move ahead in others. We had incredible assistance from the region having just gone through this process, because they had negotiated terms and conditions, which for the most part we were able to get as well, and it was incredibly helpful. So we'll continue to consult with others who are on the same path. There's a considerable amount of work that can be appreciated in changing business processes to match the software and adapting adapting our own processes to this incredibly powerful software.
I know it's referenced in the strategic plan. That implements some initiatives under that particular objective.